historical moment last night. Landed successfully the Falcon 9. It's a reusable rocket from SpaceX. It went into orbit, released satellites, and then landed. And it's a reusable rocket. Now, in the past, rocket boosters especially have been just disposable. They were very expensive, millions of dollars to construct, and then they just disposed of them. It was annoying. It was kind of silly, actually, in retrospect, but that was the way it went. And now we've solved that problem with the Falcon 9, where you can actually recycle the rocket. And it's one of the cooler things that I think humanity has done in a long, long time. So it's really cool to see progress, technological progress, in an age where things look to be very depressing. Today is a depressing looking day too, isn't it? I mean, it's not really a depressing day in general, right? But it's a depressing looking day. Got the fog going on. And I do have to warn you, too, that weather conditions are pretty bad. Road conditions are not very good right now. How do I know that? Well, because I have my phone right here. I've got my Android phone, my Motorola Moto G. No, I'm not being paid to say that. And I've been looking at the traffic conditions because my phone actually tells me how long I have to get home. See, what I do is my phone, and this might be kind of a privacy issue, I will admit. Now, this is kind of a privacy issue, but the way I figure it is anyone who tails me for half a second knows where I live and knows where I work. So I'm not too terribly worried about that. And, knows where I go to church and all that sort of thing. So I'm not horribly worried about that. And if I were to go somewhere I didn't want anyone else to know where I was going, I wouldn't carry my phone with me anyway, or I'd have it turned off. So, that's just how it'd be. But anyway, Google has a cool feature. If you have Google Maps installed, it'll actually tell you, if you tell it where you work and where you live, then it'll tell you how long you have to get home and how long it takes to get to work in the morning. And it's extremely useful to me because what I do is I roll over every morning and I wake up and I'm all tired and I, wipe the stardust out of my eyes and I pick up my phone and I look at the conditions. Because the first thing I do is I'm on my home screen after I turn off my alarm, because my phone is also my alarm clock. And the phone can do something really cool, which is this. Because I have Google Now, I can actually make my phone have little fun functions because it's all integrated into Android and Google. Google and Android they work hand in hand, essentially. So what I can do is I can set different alarms. I can set reminders with my Google Calendar. I can do all sorts of fun things. I can even set timers, which means that I rarely, if ever, use the timer on the oven anymore. When I'm at my house, I never use the timer on the oven. Say I set it for 5 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. I never set the timer on the actual oven itself anymore. I always use my phone because it's just as easy as hitting the little voice button and saying set a timer for 5 minutes. So I can do that right now. Actually, I'll do it for 10 seconds or maybe 5 seconds. So we'll see. Here we go. Watch this. Set a timer for 3 seconds.
Okay, 3 seconds. Starting.
And it goes 3, 2, 1, and that's how you do it. It's as easy as that. You just set a timer and it does all the work for you. And you can even do it again. You can also do a stopwatch. There's all sorts of little features built in. It has a stopwatch built in, which you can start and stop and it'll do laps. It's got a timer, which you can change the time for. It's got a clock, just a regular old clock, which you can then set the time zones to. And it has your regular alarms all built into the Google clocks. And it's extremely useful. Apple has an equivalent, but I've not really used it that much because I use Android on my phone. So I've not had a whole lot of experience with the iPhone side of things. But on the Android, it's extremely useful. I have an alarm, so I wake up at 7:30, and I've got another alarm at 9 to tell me to leave my house. So I wake up at 7, I leave my house at 9, and I'm usually here by about 9:30 on a good day, and sometimes 10 if I have other stuff to do at my house. So not that bad. It's a nice little system that I've got set up. It works really well for me. It helps me to stay scheduled. It helps me to stay in line, right? It helps me to keep regimented because and I think people tend to be rather lazy. People will take any excuse to not do something. So having alarms set and having it tell me to do these things at these different times really is kind of helpful in the sense that there's no excuse now because I'm being constantly bombarded by my phone telling me what to do. And you don't have to be. It's just that I am. So I can set reminders too on my phone to tell me to do things. In fact, I actually need to set one right now. I just remembered actually something I need to do Sunday. So all I need to do is this. Okay, Google, set a reminder for Sunday at 12:30 to give Dustin his humidor.
Okay, do you want to save this?
Yes. Yes.
Saving reminder.
And it's as easy as that. So then actually I need to set another one for earlier in the day to remind me to take Dustin's humidor. So all I have to do now is do, okay, Google, set a reminder for 9 o'clock a.m. on Sunday to take Dustin's humidor.
Okay, do you want to save this?
Yes.
Saving reminder.
And see, it's as easy as that. And how long did that take? Maybe 30 seconds at the most. So all you have to do is that, and you're all set to go. You're good to go now. And that's one of the more useful things that you can do with your smartphone. And, you have a smartphone. So you have all these functions at your fingertips that a lot of people possibly don't even do. In fact, I can even send texts. Like, for instance, I'll send a text to, who should I send a text? Actually, I can call the radio station. Check this out. Okay, Google, call 423-800-8949.
Calling 423-800-8949.
And it'll start ringing in just a second. It's now dialing. And hey, what do you know? The station phone is ringing. So it's as easy as that. And that means that I can make phone calls hands-free, which is, of course, very, very helpful, right? Because then that means that if I'm driving, I don't have to worry about it. I can even send a text, right? So I can do all sorts of fun things. In fact, you can technically send texts to landlines. I don't know how well that would work. Let's try that. It was kind of a fun experiment. Let's try that. Okay, Google, send a text to 423-800-8949.
What's the message?
Hello.
Got it. Do you want to send it or change it?
Send it.
Sending message.
See, and it's as easy as that. So you can do this when you're hands-free. You can do this when you're walking along the street. It's just an easy thing to do. And you can do it on the go. You don't even really have to think about it. And when technology becomes more advanced, these things will become easier and easier to do. Because technology, really, consumer electronics, are designed for the user, right? These are not designed to be hard for you to use. That's something that needs to be understood about phones, about computers, about laptops, about tablets. These things are not designed to be hard to use. These things are designed so that anyone can use them, especially smartphones, because these are very mass marketed. Smartphones are designed to be used by everyone, essentially. They are designed so that anyone on the planet can pick one up and use it, have the intuition to figure out how the interface works. And there is sort of a layer there. When you pick up a device, some people have a natural intuition and some people don't. Like, okay, for instance, I've grown up with computers, modern computers, all my life. I've had modern computers for my whole life. And so I'm just used to these different interfaces. It just makes sense to me. But someone who has not been brought up in that environment perhaps doesn't understand it immediately when they look at it, because there are certain things that just carry over. Design continuity, you might call it. For instance, I know that a picture of a gear means settings. I know that a picture of a floppy disk means save. I know that a picture of some sliders means settings as well. I know that an X means close. I know that an underscore means minimize. There's all sorts of just little things that I know because of that. And I know that a sideways triangle means go back. There's just all these little design things that are just contiguous throughout different applications. It's sort of become a design language. And that is actually a thing that a lot of designers keep in mind, design language, where it's meant to be completely universal. And we have, I think, hit a very close point to being completely universal in design language, where anyone can just pick up one of these devices, look at it, and use it. And eventually, as time goes by and more people grow up with these devices, we'll be completely in tune with them, most likely. It'll be to the point where it's like a second nature to just use your phone or to use your tablet or your computer or what have you. It'll just be second nature. That didn't used to be the case, though. Think about how far we've come in the computer world, right? let's take a step back, because it is important to help understand how we got here and help understand how computers are the way they are now and how to use them. It's sort of important to take a step back and look at the history of it. If you think about smartphones, there's a very short history to smartphones. Let's say, especially for mass marketed consumer smartphones. Now, smartphones have existed pre the iPhone, but we'll call 2007, when the iPhone came out, we'll sort of call that like the singularity point. That's when it all sort of blew up. And I know that's not when the smartphone was invented, right? Nokia probably invented the first one. I know that's not the first smartphone, but I consider that to be the turning point in smartphone design and adoption, where everyone looked at that and said, oh, I can use that. And there may have been a phone which was better before the iPhone. I just want to clear that up. I'm not saying the iPhone's the end all be all, but it was perhaps unarguably the one that led most people to get smartphones in the first place. And it made it marketable, right, to have smartphones. But anyway, so the iPhone comes out in 2007. And from that point on, people started to use them pretty consistently. Now we have a bunch of people who are using smartphones. I would argue BlackBerries were smartphones too. But you have people who are using smartphones and it's become second nature. Think about how far we've come from 2007 to 2015, almost 2016. Next year will mark 10 years of smartphones. Think about how far we've come in just 10 years. No, not even 10 years yet. How far we've come. The first iPhone is unusable by today's standards. It's completely unusable. It's not a viable option anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. I mean, you can use it, but it's not going to work as well as you would want it to. The first iPhone is not the best option anymore. And now we've gotten to the point where the iPhones and the Android phones, all the different smartphones that we have now, there's sort of a contiguous design language between them. And they're just completely easy to use. The first iPhone on a technical level is really not a viable option in the modern world. I mean, in the very modern world, as in right now. You couldn't just pick up an iPhone 1 and use it. There's a lot of different reasons why it would not work. There's a lot of deprecated services, yada, yada. But anyway, the first iPhone, in terms of functionality, was not any better than a BlackBerry was of that time. It's not any better than a contemporary BlackBerry. There was just something about it that was cool. It was hot. It was sexy. It was the iPhone, right? There's just something about it that was really neat. Even I got excited about it, and I wasn't an Apple fanboy, and still I'm not, but it was really cool. And then we moved on from there, the iPhone 3G, and then the 4, and then the 5, and then the 6 now. And that's not that many generations when you think about it. We've got 7 iterations of iOS right now. I think we're on iOS 7 or iOS 8, I think, is the newest one. Android's on version 6.0, is the very latest. So we've not gotten very far. So think about what we have ahead of us. There's a lot to look forward to in terms of the smartphone market. There's a lot going on there that is just untapped. Virtual reality, as an example, augmented reality really isn't used as much as it should be. Virtual reality has barely been touched in terms of the smartphone market. There's so much that we can look at. There's so much that we can do to make smartphones that much better. Now we can look at the idea of mobile payments, which has become a viable option now with smartphones, which have NFC chips in them. There's a lot of smartphones now, the modern iPhones and some of the newer Android phones, you can do mobile payments on them. So instead of carrying around your credit card, you can just use your phone. And that works with chip and pin systems. So there's so much to look at there that has not yet been explored. If we do end up somehow miraculously moving to an all-digital currency like Bitcoin, or we see communities which use Bitcoin exclusively, then the phone will be your main method of transaction. And your phone can be your point of sale system too. Think about this. If you're a small business person, right, you can buy Square and you can use that as your point of sale system. You don't need a cash register if you're not dealing with cash. You can simply use your phone for mobile transactions just on the go. You can carry Square with you in your backpack or in your pocket even. And if someone needs to buy something from you and you don't have a credit card reader, you could actually just use that, plug it into your phone, swipe your card, and there you go. So payments are going to be much, much easier. In fact, you can make payments, for heaven's sake, over Facebook. You can pay people over Facebook. Use PayPal to transact money. Now, this is dealing in sort of the fake money system. It's not real hard money, so it's hardly even money. It's hardly a currency, but it still is the modern money system, which is commonly used. So it doesn't have any sort of intrinsic value, but it does have sort of a societal value for some odd reason. But you get the idea. It's a very exciting time that we live in, and things really technologically can only get better. If I was reading the other day about just the progress of smartphones and computers, especially just the computational market, and the guy said that if cars had been developed as quickly and as smartphones and as computers, we would be driving light speed cars that'd be cheaper to dispose of than fill up with a tank of gas. That's how fast the computer market has moved. It's actually kind of crazy how quickly things have moved. Think about from 1990 to 1999, how different things were. I watched Home Alone yesterday, and I thought of how archaic all the stuff they had in their house was. And then I thought about The Matrix, right? Just moving forward 9 years, not even because it was filmed in like 97, 98, just moving forward a few years, things were so completely different than they were 10 years before. Things have changed so drastically, and it's only going to get better, technologically speaking. So we have a lot to look forward to. So there's really not any excuse nowadays to not have a smartphone. Get yourself a smartphone. It's not expensive these days. It's a good investment. There's so many different uses for it. It's going to fill so many utilitarian purposes. There's just not any excuse nowadays in the modern business world, especially, to not have a smartphone. I can schedule my day with my smartphone. I have all my contacts in my smartphone. I have all my different meetings and everything in my smartphone. I've got everything all right there, right at in my fingertips. I'm holding it in my hand, and I can use it for anything I need to use it for, and it's just all right here. I can run apps, I can play games, I can watch movies, I can listen to my music. I've got my whole music library. I can get any information I want to from the internet, because again, you have the internet at your fingertips too. There's just so much about smartphones that are the future. You look at it and you think, this is the future. And it's in my hands right now. I'm holding in my hands the future. It's such an exciting thing, and it's a really exciting times we live in. And the Falcon 9 rocket landing sort of reminded me of that, where we live in an age now where private companies are launching rockets into space and releasing payloads. And by the way, in case you were wondering, the payload which the Falcon 9 launched, that released into orbit, I should say, were, I think, 6 orbital satellites that do M-to-M communications, which is machine to machine. As far as I can tell, the company works with the satellites were released from. That company works with like GPS tracking and such for cars, for trucks, and that sort of thing, so companies can know where their trucks are. As far as I know, that's what the company works with. So that's what was released into space. So the Falcon 9, we now know, is a viable, reusable option for space travel, which is going to cheapen space travel by a whole lot. And I don't mean cheapen in a negative way. It's going to make space travel a lot less expensive in many different ways. So I'm hugely excited. I can't even express how excited I am about this new future of space travel, about the future of technology, about everything about the world of tech. It's just amazing. It really is kind of an amazing thing. I'm so excited to see what happens next in the world of technology, in the world of smartphones. This is Binary here on Hot News Talk Radio. I want to let you know that Woodhouse Spas has a deal going on. It's 12 days of Christmas. You go to their Facebook page there. You go to Woodhouse Spas, Woodhouse Day Spas, 12 days of Christmas giveaway on their Facebook page. For every $100 gift card you get, you'll get a $15 bonus gift card. For every $200 gift card you get or higher, you'll get a $25 bonus gift card. And for every $300 gift card or higher, you'll receive a free luxurious throw, which is in stores only while supplies last. So definitely go to Woodhouse Spas. That's the Facebook page, Woodhouse Spas on Facebook, and get in on those deals, because you're gonna wanna jump on that while you can. Last minute Christmas gift, maybe. There's a lot to give there from that deal. Woodhouse Spas. Right here in Chattanooga, actually. So go to the Woodhouse Spas Facebook page and check that out. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and we're always here at hotnewstalkradio.com. Hey, check us out on the TuneIn Radio app for your smartphone. Again, another use for your smartphone. You can actually listen to radio on it. In fact, some smartphones actually have radio built in, which is pretty awesome too. All you got to do, go to your smartphone, launch your app store, download the TuneIn Radio app, and there you go. Search for Hot News Talk Radio in there, and now you're listening to us streaming live anywhere in the world on your smartphone. You can also watch us on Periscope, so lots of fun to be had there. This is Hot News Talk Radio and Binary.
doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over to the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
Lay your burdens down at the Woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door. Just take some time. We're transforming life.
Happy holidays at the Wood. From the Woodhouse Day Spa. Holiday gift cards available at chattanooga.woodhousespas.com.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef, oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal. With Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store. CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. The largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe this Christmas by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Still a wet and foggy, unfortunately, day in beautiful Chattanooga. And you know what? The city actually still looks good even when it's raining. And that's something that I really like about living here, actually, is that the city still looks really nice even when it's rainy and foggy and otherwise pretty nasty out, the city still looks really good. It still looks great. There's a lot to be said about where we live. Chattanooga is one of the best, I think, possibly one of the best cities on the East Coast anyway. Like, we want to be specific and we want to be geographic about it. I think Chattanooga is one of the best cities on the East Coast. I've been to a lot. I've been to Atlanta, I've been to New York City, I've been to Philadelphia, I've been to Boston, I've been to different places in Maine, which are indescribable because they all look the same. I've been to a lot of different places on the East Coast, and it seems to me that Chattanooga actually is one of the best cities on the East Coast. It just seems that way to me. Chattanooga is such a nice city. It's so great. There's just such an amazing vibe, I guess, about Chattanooga. I just like it a lot. There's a lot to be said about it. It's just, oh man, I can't get over it. But one of the things that we do have going for us here, one of the many things, is our tech market, actually. Chattanooga is a very forward-thinking city. There's a lot to be said about that. Now, there's some negatives, I guess, to that, in that the city is really into intervention in a lot of different ways, but it's still not nearly as bad as it might be in places like Chicago or maybe New York City, right, or Boston or Philadelphia, where those different cities have a very interventionist city council, we'll say, which is really into getting the city involved into all sorts of little things which the city has no business being involved in. And we don't have a whole lot of that. We do have that, but we don't have a whole lot of that here in Chattanooga. And that's one of the reasons we're as good as we are here, actually, right? Like, it's one of the reasons that it's nice, actually, is because, well, we don't have a whole lot of intervention. It's mostly the people doing everything. And that's one of the best things I think about our city, is that we built it, right? Like, we did build that here in Chattanooga. Now, I have to admit, I'm not actually a native. I'm not a real Chattanoogan, I guess. I was born in Chattanooga. I was actually born in Erlanger Hospital, but I live in Ringgold in Catoosa County. So technically, I don't live in Chattanooga. I couldn't run for city council or anything. I actually am qualified to run for mayor of Ringgold, which I may do sometime. I actually am qualified, unlike some other people who ran who were not. That's kind of weird, actually. But yeah, I actually am qualified for that. I might run for sheriff even. Maybe I'll run for school board or something just to get in there. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Maybe I'll do that. I do care about the city. Maybe I'll work on changing it for the better. But anyway, no, it's a great city we live in. We live in Chattanooga, and I couldn't be happier that we live here. It's one of the better places, I think, even on the planet. We'll just go that far. Hey, the number to call in here is 423-800-8949. As 423-800-8949 is the number to call in here at Hot News Talk Radio, and this is binary. Be sure to get us on TuneIn. All you got to do to get us on TuneIn is go to the TuneIn radio app and then search for Hot News Talk Radio. So all you got to do is open up your phone. I'll do that right now, actually. Let me get on my phone here. I'll go to my app store. Let me go to my home screen. Go to my app store, the Google Play Store. You can do this on your iPhone, too. You don't have to use an Android phone. So I'm going to my app store, and I'm searching here for TuneIn, right? Okay, TuneIn, radio and music. I'll hit the little search on that, and I'll install it. Well, I've already got it installed, so you can install it at this point. I'll give you a second. No worries. Play the Jeopardy music. Okay, so now it's installed. I'll go open it, and I need to turn down my volume quickly, otherwise things will get loud fast. Oh, gosh. And that's me. Hey, what do you know? I'm on TuneIn. So all you got to do is go to the TuneIn radio app, and you can listen to us streaming live there. You can actually leave comments on TuneIn as well. We always like to see your comments. In fact, I check it basically every time I go on TuneIn just to see if anybody new has said anything new. So you can leave comments on TuneIn. You can favorite us. You can subscribe. In fact, we have quite a few subscribers on TuneIn as well. You might as well join the club. Hey, speaking of subscribers and speaking of joining clubs, be sure to follow us on Twitter and get us on Facebook as well. We are on Facebook. It's Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, and we're also, of course, on the Twitter. Follow us, Hot News Talk Radio, on Twitter, and on YouTube. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube, where you can see us, right, streaming live on YouTube there at Hot News Talk Radio. You can see the show which came before this one, where we had Duke and we had Eric, and they were talking about preparedness a little bit, filling in for David Tulis, who is out covering a very important court case up near Nashville. So he's going to be back soon-ish to talk about that. I'm thinking tomorrow, maybe. He'll be back to talk about that. And we're certainly interested to hear what he discovered about this particular court case up in Nashville. And he'll be here to talk about that right here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. And again, we're always here at hotnewstalkradio.com as well. I want to talk about something that possibly people don't know about. There's a lot of functionalities of phones that we tend to just not think about. One of them is, of course, everybody knows about the flashlight, right? We don't need to get into that, but I'll cover it for half a second here. On my phone, it's actually kind of super easy to start up the flashlight. All you got to do, for me anyway, in Android, is I just swipe down to my settings, and then there's a little thing that says flashlight, and it's so bright. It's actually really, really bright, and it drains the battery in like 5 seconds, so I wouldn't use it too much. But you lose your car keys, whatever, you can use the flashlight app, and there are actually a few flashlight apps, as in dedicated apps you can get on your smartphone as well. Now, I don't have an iPhone, so I can't really recommend one on the iPhone, although I'm pretty sure the iPhone actually has a built-in flashlight, just like my Android phone does. But if you don't have that, there are some different apps which will turn the flash on for you to act as sort of a flashlight. So you can download these different apps on your phone, and you can use that to as an impromptu flashlight, say at concerts or movie theaters or whatever. Like there's actually one that's just called flashlight. There's one that's a colored flashlight. There's all sorts of different flashlights out there. But one that's a Google, sponsored, Google verified app is flashlight LED light from Zentertain. Apparently, it says it's the brightest flashlight app. I don't know how that works. How is it the brightest? I don't know how there would be a dim one, right? Like how would that work? But it's got about 4.5 stars right now on the Android App Store, and it's only 3.11 megs, so that's not that bad. It's pretty lightweight. It's not going to take up a whole lot of space, and it gets quite a few good reviews. So the flashlight LED light from Zentertain is one of the highest rated on the Google Play Store, and is probably not most likely anyway, not a malware of any sort, because you do get that. That's something you have to look out for on phones even, right? Like some people think that you can't get viruses on your phone. You actually can. There are a lot of different ways you can do that, believe it or not. One thing that we see a lot, I see this especially, is say you're browsing the web and something that pops up, it'll say your phone has a virus. Tap here to download the app to scan your phone. Don't do it. Don't do it, because if you do, chances are it's going to install some malware or spyware or who knows what else on your phone. And you definitely don't want to have to deal with that. That's one of those things that's, kind of a problem for your phone. We'll put it that way. That's going to cause your phone to be slower. It could steal your information, which is definitely not something you want to do, because a lot of us have financial info on our phones. There's just a lot of reasons why you do not want an app like that taking up space, especially on your phone, because that's something to consider too. Space is kind of precious on smartphones. Like oftentimes we don't actually think about space. We don't think about the storage that we have left on our phones, but we do have problems with that sometimes, where we run out of space, and it happens to everybody. It happens to me pretty often because I download and delete and re-download a lot of different apps, so you got to watch out for that. But for the most part, it's easy to clear up. One thing you can do, of course, is you can actually, if you have your photos backed up in the cloud, be it the iCloud or the Google Drive, Google Photos on Google Drive, you can just delete the photos from your phone if you don't need to access them immediately. Like older photos, you can just get rid of. And you'd be surprised how much space pictures take up. Maybe you wouldn't be, but pictures can easily take up 1 megabyte each, depending on how large you've taken them, what format you've taken them in. If it's 4K or whatever, photos can take up quite a bit of space. So you're going to want to delete photos that you don't need. Maybe you got duplicates you don't need. Instagram, if you have Instagram, it'll cache photos, so that takes up extra space. You'd be surprised how much space photos and videos will take up. You might have a video that you took a long time ago just to upload it to Facebook, and you don't really need it on your phone anymore. So you can just go through your gallery, your camera roll, I think they call it on iPhones. You can go through that and delete it. And that can free you up quite a bit of space, actually, because videos take up the most space, probably out of almost anything. Gigabyte per file or megabyte per file takes up quite a lot of space. Videos are very hefty, very fat in terms of space that they take up. So delete those if you can, and you'll thank me for it later. Photos and videos especially take up tons and tons of space. Sometimes it's just a good idea to go through your apps and look and see what you've got installed, because sometimes you have something you don't ever use and you just forgot that you had it. I see a lot of people who, they scroll through their apps, and I'm thinking, you don't use all those apps. You got like 40 different apps for all these different things. You're not using all of them. There's no way you're using all those apps. So go through your apps and see which ones you need and which ones you don't, and uninstall the ones that you don't need. Delete them, and you'll free up quite a bit of extra space just doing that. Because your phone is not like an infinite vacuum you can just throw things in. It does have limited space, and it's kind of a problem if suddenly you're using up all this space and you need to install new apps, or maybe even you can't take photos anymore. I've run into that problem too, where I just couldn't install or couldn't take photos anymore because my hard drive on my phone was so full. It's not really a hard drive, but the space on my phone was so full, I couldn't even take photos anymore. Yeah, kind of a problem there, but you don't want to run into that problem. So make sure that you clear up some space on your phone, and you'll definitely be glad you did. It's one of the better things you can do to clear up some space on your phone. Just photos and videos. So remember that, photos and videos. There are apps you can get to clear your cache and stuff like that. I don't do that very often. I'll be honest with you. I don't really do that much. So I don't know. I just don't do that very much. I don't really delete my cache very often. Usually I'll just restart my phone. If I need more space, I'll just restart my phone. If I need to clear the cache, I'll just restart my phone. And that's something that you need to do, by the way, pretty regularly. You don't need to do it in terms of like you have to, but it's generally good practice to restart your phone every morning. I do it anyway, just to clear up the cache and to make sure everything's flowing right. I'll usually restart it probably once a day. As soon as I wake up, I'll usually restart it. In the afternoon, when I'm not doing anything, I'll restart it. So there's a lot to be said for restarting your phone. You'd be surprised how many issues even that can clear up, where an app is hung up and it's not closing on you. It's hung up on trying to open the camera. Sometimes that happens. Apps that open the camera, I notice, tend to be the buggiest. There's something about that software hardware interface that tends to mess up, especially on Android for some reason, where it just doesn't just apps that use a camera don't like themselves for some reason and will really mess you up sometimes. I've had a problem with Snapchat, where Snapchat will say, this app can't open the camera because it's already in use by another app. And I don't know why it does that, but it only does it maybe once a month or so. It's just one of those quirks, and I'll restart my phone and it fixes it. I have no idea why it does that. I haven't really read into it too much, but it's really a pain. It's a real nightmare when just like that happens and I'm going to restart and just, come on. It's not fun. It just annoys me. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Computers are not perfect, right? Like computers have problems sometimes. They have quirks, they have bugs, there are glitches, whatever. Restarting is the first step to fixing them. There's sort of there was a show not too long ago called the IT Crowd, and the old joke was he'd pick up the phone, he'd say, "Hello, IT," if you turn it off and turn it on again. It's just what you do. If you have a problem with your phone, you turn it off and you turn it back on again. And if that doesn't fix it, then maybe you have a bigger problem on your hands. But it's just, it's really obnoxious when it happens, but it does. And it's a pain. But yeah, restart your phone. That might actually surprisingly solve more problems than you would possibly think. Just restarting can solve myriads of issues that you might have on your phone. So give that a shot. Maybe they'll fix it. Again, the flashlight app we were talking about just a few seconds ago is, if I can find it again, flashlight LED light from Zentertain. Apparently, that one's a higher rated one on the Android App Store. And if you'll notice, there'll be a little symbol next to app developers. You'll see one that says, Zentertain, the name of the company which made the app, will have a little symbol next to it on Android that has a diamond shape under or above a chevron. Generally speaking, that means that that company's been vetted by Google and it is cool, basically. So that's one thing to look out for. You'll know that that's a legit app if you see that symbol next to it. Generally speaking, not all the time, but generally speaking, you'll know that that's an okay app to download if you see that photo or that little icon next to it. So this is one thing to keep in mind, is that's generally the rule of thumb. Lots of different stores, you'll notice, have apps. So if you shop at a store a lot it might be a good idea to get the app for it. Walmart, as much as I hate to tout big business, Walmart actually has an app that's quite useful. You can use the Walmart app, and you can find all the different items. You can get coupons, and you can have items, say, from another store. If you find a lower price on it at another store, Walmart will reimburse you, or it'll match the price of another store. There's a lot of good things you can do with the Walmart app in terms of shopping. You can create a shopping list with it as well. There's all sorts of little things. By the way, I actually do that. There are lots of different shopping list apps on phones, and I don't usually have a shopping list, I'll be quite honest with you, but there are quite a few different shopping list apps out there. There was one that's called Out of Milk, I'm going to say. Yeah, Out of Milk, that different members of my family will use quite a lot. That's one that a lot of people tend to use, is Out of Milk. And you can have a shopping list, and it's just really nice. It organizes everything. It looks really great. So Out of Milk is one of the apps. And I know it's kind of a weird name, but again, it's called Out of Milk. You can even set lists for different stores. So if you're making multiple trips, you can make a list for, say, Costco, and then you can make a separate list for Food Lion. So there's lots of stuff you can do with the Out of Milk app that you just couldn't normally do. Even with pen and paper, it just gets tiring to write out a shopping list every time. I don't like the whole writing thing. And I was actually talking to a good friend of mine about that yesterday. I don't write very much with my hands. I never write really with my hands unless it's an emergency. I type out nearly everything. I keep notes in my text editor on my computer. I don't really write that much. It's kind of weird. Maybe, is it weird? I don't know. I don't really write that much though. And my friend was telling me this is sort of a lost art, writing and sending letters and all that sort of thing. It is, and I agree, it is sort of a lost art, but I have no reason nowadays to write with my hands. There's not really a whole lot of reason for me to do that in terms of just immediate practicality. Why would I write anything with my hands? Which is why, my handwriting is positively awful, right? Like it's some of the worst that I've ever seen is my own handwriting. It's pretty bad. When I'm in a rush, especially, it just looks like sort of archaic symbols. If you ever see ancient Sumerian, it's basically what it looks like, some weird cuneiform thing. Ancient archaeologists, thousands of years, or future archaeologists in thousands of years from now will look back at my writing and say, we don't know what this is. It's a new form of writing. This must be the birthplace of this bizarre form of writing. Was Russell's handwriting. It's pretty bad. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're everywhere. You can see us live at Hot News Talk Radio. If you go to Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube, just go to YouTube and then search for Hot News Talk Radio. You can see us streaming live there on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 on YouTube. Go to Twitter and search for Hot News Talk Radio. We are actually constantly tweeting on Twitter, so be sure to check that out. You can get your hard-hitting news and your opinion all right there on Twitter, where you report the world decides. It's Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. We've got over 2,000 followers, which is pretty dang nice. Actually, we're almost 2,500 followers on Twitter, so pretty nice. That's Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter, so be sure to check us out there. And again, you can get us on YouTube and on the TuneIn radio app. That's TuneIn on your smartphone. All you have to do with TuneIn is you open up your smartphone and you search for the TuneIn radio app. You install that, and then you search for Hot News Talk Radio, and you'll be able to listen to us streaming live anywhere in the world with your data connection right there on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and we are always here at hotnewstalkradio.com as well, which is our website, sort of the nexus there. If you go to the website, you can get our Twitter, you can get our YouTube link, and you get links to our Facebook page as well, all right there on Twitter. So that's definitely the better way to get a hold of us, actually, is on Twitter. There's Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. So it's easy to get a hold of us. You can tweet at us. We actually get quite a few people tweeting at us on Twitter, and I always look at those. And you can also call us, actually, on the air. Call us, 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949 is the number to call in here at Hot News Talk Radio. Read it out again. Why not? 423-800-8949 is the number to call in here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, and hotnewstalkradio.com as well. I want to go over something again. Again, the functionality of your phone goes beyond just tapping on it. That's not all that it does. on your phone, there are a lot of voice features which you can use, especially with Google Now. I like Google Now actually better than I like Siri, and that's blasphemous to some people. Now, Siri is great. I'm not an Apple user, but I think Siri actually is a really good thing. It's a great service. It works really well. I think it's really nice, but I don't like how you have to tell it to Google search something, because I always use Google search. What else am I going to use? I'm not going to use Bing or Yahoo. You think I am. So if you want a Google search, Google Now just does it. And no, I'm not being paid to say that. I just think Google Now actually is better, especially if I have an iPhone, right? Like, because if I should say if you have an Android phone, because I have an Android phone, it just works better for me. It's just the better option. So it's just, I don't know. There's something cool about it because it'll tell you things. And there's something just so futuristic and so neat about Google, speaking to you. Like, okay, for instance, I can do this. Okay, Google, what's the weather like in Chattanooga? And it tells me it's 58 degrees. So I can see this, like, okay, Google, what's the weather like in Hickson?
It's 58 degrees and cloudy in Chattanooga.
There we go. See, so I can get all that information right there just by speaking to it. And I can see that it is going to be raining. Wow. It's going to be raining from today until Tuesday of next week. So it looks like we're going to be having quite a rainy Christmas, not a white Christmas, unfortunately. So it's I don't know. Christmas is weird this year because it doesn't feel like it, right? Like Christmas is great, and I really like it every year. I always get really excited about it, especially when I buy things for other people, and I just love seeing their reaction when they open it. But there's something about this Christmas that just seems kind of off. Am I the only one getting that vibe? Just because it's so warm, I could walk out right now in just short sleeves and be fine. And I'm just wearing just a dress shirt right now. I don't know why I'm wearing, because it's wash day. I'm wearing just a thin dress shirt. And I always forget what I'm wearing, by the way. I wake up and I just throw on something and I completely forget what I'm wearing in like the next 30 minutes. But this Christmas has felt really weird. Am I the only one who thinks that? I don't know. But anyway, I hope you have a good holiday season. I'm having a great holiday season right now. I bought a lot of stuff for a lot of family members. I'm excited to see what I get. Not that that's really the main thing of it, because this holiday season, this Christmas, I've been feeling really positive, and that's kind of a rare thing for me. I've been feeling real positive, so let's spread that positivity, around this holiday season. The world's kind of got a lot of messed up stuff going on, but we can be good to each other, can't we? And I think, especially here in Chattanooga, we have that brotherly love that we can spread around. I'm really happy to live here, and I hope you have a good Christmas. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, and AM 1240 on YouTube as well. Search for Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube and go to hotnewstalkradio.com as well. Merry Christmas.